What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, continuing my deep dive into Neil Young's studio catalog. It's Friday, so it's an official studio album in the official chronology, timeline, discography thing. Album number 14th came out in 1983. Everybody's Rockin'. His shortest album at just under 25 minutes. I have bands who have songs that are that long. 25-minute album, 10 songs. So you do the math on how long the average song is. So apparently at some point the record company came to Neil and said, Neil, we'd like you to do a rock and roll album. We don't want you to do a synth album or whatever you're doing on that island in Hawaii, making Johnny's music, whatever that Caribbean type stuff is. We don't want country. We want you to make a rock and roll album. And Neil was like, well, what is rock and roll, really? What do you mean by that? And he goes back to the 40s and the 50s and he says, oh yeah, rockabilly. Let's do a whole bunch of rockabilly songs. We'll cover a bunch. I'll write some originals. Yeah, we'll give them that. Here is your rock and roll album. This is what you meant, right? I think this was the one in which he was sued over it. Maybe that was Trans. I always get confused. Such a weird decade. The band is Shocking Pinks, which was put together strictly for this record. Ben Keith is on it. Tim Drummond is on it. You have some Neil Young regulars. 10 songs. Average length, 2.5 minutes. 4 covers. Opens up with Betty Lou's Got a New Pair of Shoes. Pretty much the vibe you're going to get for this entire album. That's the template right there. The other covers, Raining in My Heart. Slightly better choice in covers. Bright Lights, Big City. Mystery Train. Go back and listen to the originals. They sound almost exactly like this. Really, really, really tired of background vocals, doo-wop vocals by the end of this 25 minutes. I don't ever listen to this album. I had to dig it out and brush it off and revisit it to remind myself why I don't listen to it. I was so tired of bop, boo-wop, and doo-wops and background vocals. By the end of this, every song would start with this pretty much same drum beat. Some background vocalist would come in, go bop, boo wop, and then Neil would sing, and it just got really tiring. I thought at first that maybe I just don't like this type of music, and so the problem was me. So I went back and listened to a whole bunch of 50s stuff. Then I revisited the 80s sort of rockabilly revival. Then I listened to some shockabilly just for the fun of it. I tried to listen to as much other rockabilly genre type adjacent stuff as possible. I enjoyed most of that better than I did this, so the problem wasn't rockabilly. I do think the problem might be Neil Young's voice. I like Neil Young's voice. I think Neil Young's voice is exceptional. I think if you pick out a certain song from the 70s, try to think of a certain song that comes to mind. Powderfinger is a perfect song. And compare versions of that as acoustic versions, as the tempo changes, as it gets a little more aggressive. And his delivery, just whether it's a resigned sadness or it's a defiant, there's so much nuance without changing the vocals, without changing the music, just in his delivery. I was listening to the album that follows this, Old Ways, an album I like much better than I like this one. And there are 2 duets on that, one with Willie Nelson, one with Waylon Jennings. And I think that in both of those songs, I'm like halfway sold on the songs. They're country, but they're not the best country, and I'm not that into them. But then when Willie shows up or when Waylon shows up, I'm like, oh, no. It wasn't the song. It was Neil just doesn't have quite the right country voice, or at times the right voice for certain types of music. And I think for this one, his delivery, typical Neil Young delivery, kind of only works on a couple of the songs. One of them, which he'd written in the 70s, the other one, which he gets a little snarky. His voice works really well on those 2 because I think it's more true to who he is. All these other vocals, it really just seems like he's channeling somebody who wrote the original or some other artists that he admired or reveres, and he's trying to like channel through them, and maybe he's just not being Neil enough. But I really didn't enjoy it. But like I said, it wasn't a complete loss. There were two songs I enjoyed. Opens up with Betty Lou's Got a New Pair of Shoes. Okay. Oh, there's a sax solo on here. And I'm like, have we had saxophone on other Neil Young songs? Like we have, right? There's no way we've gone this long without a saxophone. But when it popped up, I was like, this is a weird sound. Neil Young and saxophone. That is not a very common pairing. And I really, up until this point, I'm trying to think, have there been songs that have had saxophone? And I'm not sure there have been, right? Am I missing something? But anyways, I thought that was interesting. The saxophone immediately jumped out at me. I thought the second song was just a more interesting cover, Raining in My Heart, nice harmonica solo. The tone is here after these first two. It's all you need to know about this album. But then the next two songs, I think, are the best two songs. Paola Blues, which is Neil still ranting and raving about Paola, which they pay DJs to spin songs. Apparently he's maybe implying that it still happens today, wondering why his songs aren't going to get on the radio. I like it. I like the attitude. I like the snark. I like the dig. It gives this some personality that the covers don't have. And then the song after that is Wonderin', which he did in the early 70s. He had a video for it. Maybe I'm more inclined to like this because I knew the video at the time, saw it on MTV. It's one where they do the herky-jerky, film it slow, then speed it up. So something like that, weird, one of those weird things. Those are the two best songs, I would say, on the album by far. Actually, Wonderin' kind of works. It's probably the most dialed down of all the rockabilly vibes. And the snark of Paola Blues is wonderful. And then my least favorite song follows, Kinda, Fonda, Wanda. Yeah, it's common for the genre, that kind of like wordplay. It's way more of a Reuben and the Jets, Zappa type thing. Only Zappa's gonna, the title might be innuendo, but the lyrics are not. They're gonna be pretty explicit, more so, and it makes it a little more interesting. I just don't like the song. Second side, or the second half of this 25-minute album, Jelly Roll Man, obligatory Jelly Roll, blues reference, Bright Lights, Big City, Cry, 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 another of the better songs, an original. I think the original ones just work better than the covers because at least there's maybe a little more something of Neil in there. Mystery Train, and then it closes out with Everybody's Rockin'. Another song I think is actually pretty good, only because it references Ronnie and Nancy bopping at the White House. And again, it's obviously 50s music. He makes it contemporary. That makes it that much more interesting, even though it is pretty cheesy. Kind of a fun closing song. It works. I kind of almost wish it opened the album. I think that actually might have worked better, but it's a fun way to close. But I don't ever listen to this album. I just, unless you're really, 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 really into like 50s rock and rockabilly music and this genre, early Elvis Presley, Stray Cats, that kind of thing. I don't know what there is. There's 25 minutes of music. It's an EP of rockabilly music. Maybe it's worth you checking out. I'm not ever probably going to dig it out again. If I'm going to listen to Paola Blues or Wandering, Everybody's Rockin', it's going to be on a playlist. The covers just, and again, I am so tired of bop, boo, wop, bop, boo, wop. It's a lot of bop, boo, wops and wah, like just, It was a little too much for me. Frank Zappa's little 10-minute medley that he does live of like Mary Lou and Man from Utopia and No No or Cherry Cherry and all that. That's like, what, 10 minutes long? Even that seems like too much. This 25, 2.5 times that is a lot. I just don't enjoy this album. But where would I rank the songs? Well, if I had to rank the songs, right there. The originals, most of the originals on top. Wanderin', Paola Blues, Cry, 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 Everybody's Rockin'. I do think those are just a step above the rest of them. They're just pretty good songs. Then you get Raining in My Heart. You got all the covers. And then the Kind of Fun and Wanda at the end. You kind of have to do it to respect the genre, that kind of silly wordplay. But it's in the middle of the album. By that point, I'm like already tired. I'm already 10 minutes in with all the bop boo wops, and that's all the bop boo wops I need. So, yeah, And if I were to generally make a Neil playlist of songs from across all the genres, Wondering's probably not even making that cut. Like, to me, this is a pretty low bar. I know it's meant to be fun. It could be an homage to the 50s. Obviously, it is an homage, but it also feels like a big middle finger to the record company coming from Neil, and I respect that. I wish it was a better album. I wish he subverted the genre in a way that upset the record company, yet also like enthralled people looking for people to subvert genres. There's no genre subverting at all. The band sounds good. There are the drummer in particular, no fault in the Shockin' Pinks. I think they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They're putting some flavor in it. The music is not bad. The band is not at fault. I just think the overall concept, it's a story to be told about an album you made to piss off a record executive, but the album isn't like something that you want to rally behind. And like, it's like, I'm not gonna stake my flag. What is that? I'm not gonna die on this mountain. No, this is not the mountain I'm dying on. I will die on the trans mountain. Yeah, I'm there for that one. Let's go. This one, yeah, no. But yeah, rambling. Where would I rank the album? Oh, all that being said, I still think it's better than that soundtrack album, just because that soundtrack album just kind of annoys me. Yeah, but it's way at the bottom. In early days, which I admittedly, I know a lot of people really like that album. It didn't do much for me, but early days is clearly much, much better than this. Even though, as a personal favorite of mine, it ranks near the bottom of the list. Everybody's Rockin', yeah. I just don't recommend this. I mean, if you have the Archives box set, you get a number, Archives 3. There are a number of tracks from here on there, so that would be a good way to get a sample of this while also getting a lot of other really good stuff. But this album, I'd say pass. Just pass. All right, that's all I got. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those things. Thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.